Yes. So again, no, sorry for the again the small delay. So the SOC analyst is just not a particular person. I was just telling that it's a specialized team where all the cybersecurity professionals they're specialized to handle the real-time incidents. So security incidents in the system, particular network or a server. So the incidents can occur in various places, right? So these incidents they try to handle in a system, network, and a data. So what do they do there? They try to monitor. The first part is what um, they do is they try to monitor and give the alert systems, and then they try to detect and prevent. So what they do in case if they have got a particular security incident, and we see that that particular security incident is suppose a issue, or suppose there's a malware occurred and that incident is an alert. So what they do is they try to detect and prevent it. So they try to detect in which part of the system or which part of a server or which part of a network this particular incident has been occurred. So they try to detect and prevent, and they try to respond and mitigate. What does that mean, which means respond and mitigate? Is suppose now we have confirmed that this is the particular incident. So for the first thing as a SOC analyst we must be knowing is that one must try to respond and mitigate. So how do we respond it? By first knowing which type of attack it is, which type of malware it is. So that's how we try to respond first. So until and unless we know which type of attack it is or which type of incident has been occurred, will not be able to proceed. So that's how, suppose in case if we have come to the conclusion also that this is a ransomware attack, again we try to see that, oh, in ransomware we have file data encrypted ransomware and the lockware. So among that, in again in the lockware, which type of lockware it is, all these things one must be knowing. So as a SOC analyst, if you're starting to get into this role, one must try to know the clear idea about how the incident records are taken, how the records are handled, which IDs are important, where event IDs are, what we have something called PID, we have security ID, application ID, all these IDs one must be knowing. And then we have to proceed with all the types of malware, how to analyze these malwares, and then within malwares, which type of malware it is, among those, which kind of it is, how they behave, how the user behavior happens. So all these as a basic understanding, they'll be expecting you when you approach for as a SOC analyst. And then coming up with responsibilities, the first thing again, managing security incidents, and then investigating the potential incidents. So why we have put in two lines: managing security incidents, investigating potential incidents. So managing security incidents is that when we try to see which security incident is happening and know the flow of security incident. And when it comes to investigating potential incidents, which means that you have confirmed that this incident has been occurred, and then you are investigating the incident. So that is the thing. And then the third one which goes is as triaging and prioritizing the detected incidents. So what does this mean is we try to see among these incidents which among needs the first priority and which among needs to be the which among has to be stopped and detected first and mitigated first or contaminated first. I hope this was clear. And then up next, we have coordinating an incident response to minimize the business loss. So what does this exactly mean is that when we are trying to approach and when you are trying to get the business continuity plan, so one must try to, as a SOC analyst, we must have a basic idea of how to respond to an incident. So SOC analyst is not just a small area where we try to see the incident, detect the incident, and finish off. So we need to have a clear understanding of incident response, endpoint detection, log analysis, malware analysis, all of these aspects. We try to work every day on these alerts, see, monitor, and all of this. So this what we does is when we try to respond to particular incident correctly, that's when the business loss is minimized. That is what it means. And then maintaining the relevance and patching vulnerable systems. Now, why patching vulnerable systems? Where it comes, this comes as a role in endpoint detection. So whatever the incidents are there, we try to see from where it has been occurred. So from which endpoint are these loopholes occurring from, and we need to patch those endpoints in a system. So this happens. And then infrastructure management, how to manage the infrastructure, like where it has to be, suppose we have an OSI layer model, or suppose we have in an organization, we have a proper a setup. Suppose we have done a setup in a proper organization. So where an intrusion detection system has to be put, where an intrusion prevention system has to be put, what type of firewalls have to be put in a particular team, how to give a role-based access and rule-based access. Now, what does this role and rule-based mean is that in particular infrastructure, according to the role, suppose an L1 analyst, L2 analyst, L3 analyst are the three different type of roles. So there in an infrastructure management, we need to be knowing what kind of analyst can access what kind of data. So this will also help an organization to know the proper strategy of who has done what and what are their responsibilities. And we need to understand who can do how much they can access also. So that's how infrastructure management takes place, and addressing the support tickets and reporting to the management. So this is the thing happened. We try to make a complete report and then report the incident to the management. So I hope the responsibilities were clear enough. Yes, thank you. And then coming up with challenges. So this is one of the major thing we must need to understand, because in the era where everybody, where I see most of the people, they want to be knowing, as a SOC analyst, this is one of the major concern. What if we detect as a false positive? What if we do this? What if we do it? That's one of the major challenge, right? So we need to be knowing how to analyze which are the positive ones, which are the negative ones, which are true positive, what are false positive, false negative, all of these things we must understand. So, and then staffing critical roles again, as mentioned about the access control, role based and rule based access control, minimizing operational impacts. No, what does this mean by minimizing operational impacts is that whatever the impacts, whatever the operation is taking place in particular organization, or whatever the incidents are taking place in a particular organization, how do we minimize them operationally? So what task are you going to do there in particular time, how you're going to respond so that you minimize the impact. The first thing, as whoever would have attended yesterday's meeting, we had discussed that the first thing we are going to respond is whatever the Ethernet cables are there, what are the cables which are connected, we are just trying to first remove those cables. So that is the first a way where we can minimize the impact of particular incident. And then what we do is, suppose this cable is connected to whole network, we'll keep the first thing in mind is, oh, what if the DOS attack occur? We will just try to disconnect all the connections. So that will be our first minimization thing what we are going to do. And then respond to the attack again. When we try to minimize and contaminate the attack, then comes the area where we try to respond, how we are going to, again, suppose our data is logged, how we are going to respond to that data, what ways we are using, which encryption standard we are using to decrypt the data, all of these things. What technique, suppose we have something called MITRE attack framework. So this can be used by a SOC analyst. So what is MITRE attack framework? It is the techniques, tactics and procedures. So which tactic we are using to mitigate and respond to the attack, which technique we are using, and what procedure are we following. So as a SOC analyst, we'll be having a particular checklist. So what we have to follow at certain time of attack. But there are some incidents which occur like 0-day attacks. So these things we need to be knowing when to respond and how to respond. So these are the major challenges when it comes to 0-day attack. So I think many of you have gone through the ransomware attack which was occurred, move it ransomware attack. So those things. So we once as a SOC analyst, when we are approaching, so we need to be knowing, as we need to start studying how they would have resolved, how they would have investigated these attacks, and how they have resolved, what kind of ransomware attack it is, Dedrix attack, this is a type of ransomware attack. All these things we need to be knowing. And then collecting and aggregating data, this is called log parsing. So where we try to so this is automatically done, but by the IDS and IPS systems and SIEM tools. But we need to also be knowing that what kind of data, like when we are invoking that technique in our system, or when we are invoking that particular tool in our system, we need to be giving rules, what kind of data has to be segregated where, and all of that. Like suppose SIEM tools work in such a way that first the data log analytics will be there, on that SIEM tools are kept. So first log analytics and database is kept, on that we try to keep the complete SIEM tool. So there we need to be giving the rules in between, that what kind of data should go where, and how the alert should occur, how the incident are going to respond. In case if these rules are a match, then this is where it is going to give us the alert. So this is where the people face challenges. So when we are appearing as a SOC analyst, we must be a little bit clear about how things are occurring. Is it like, was it well explanatory? I just want to know. Yes, thank you. Yes, so coming up to what roles as a SOC analyst will be going to have, is that here as a tier 1 SOC analyst, L1 SOC analyst, we will be responding to the tickets. So we'll be continuously monitoring, and when there is an alert, we try to generate the ticket, and we're going to support the tickets as we have seen in responsibilities. As an L1 analyst, we are going to be knowing all of these. Suppose we are handling one of the client where we are going to see continuously monitor, as you're hired as a L1 analyst. So you're going to continuously monitor and detect what incident are occurring, how it has been taking place, and all of that. And then in case if you are not able to respond to it, then L2 analyst come into picture. So your incident is escalated to L2 analyst to respond to that incident, how it is, how you have to mitigate it, and all of basic mitigations as an L1 analyst we have to be performing. And the secondary mitigations, the L2 analyst will be performing. And then after the whole thing, if in case suppose like if it is a 0-day attack, then as tier 3 analyst and the incident response coordinator, the SOC manager, CISO, all these people will come into picture where they try to mitigate the attack. So who all work together as a SOC analyst is that when we were trying to when I was trying to explain the responsibilities, you would have heard we need to be having the major uh, idea of as a how to detect malwares, threats, and all of that. So who all will come here into picture is the malware analyst. So that and the threat intelligence. So today I'll be showing a little bit practical on cyber threat intelligence. So that we'll be using one tool and understand. So, and moreover, I just want to tell that it's not all about using the tools. We need to be understanding how these tools are implemented, why this tool is supposed to be implemented, and all of that. And then forensic specialist here comes into picture. Where they come into picture is that they try to be forensic specialists try to maintain the chain of custody. So this incident has occurred, this was handled by this person, this incident was occurred, this was handled. They try to maintain the chain of custody and try to recover the data. So when they're trying to recover the data, the forensic specialist come into picture. So we need to be having, as a SOC analyst, I would say that you have to be having the clear idea of how these roles come into picture, and you have to act accordingly. So a threat hunter, blue team specialist is someone who is on the defensive side. So they try to defend against the threats. Again, the vulnerability assessment you try to do, where you're trying to see where the loophole is there, where it has been occurred, what mistake has happened, where the defender has failed to act. All these things, these people will be seeing up. And then red team specialists, what they do is they try to, meanwhile, suppose we have deployed particular technique in an organization. So the red team specialist, what they do is they try to check whether the technique which we have deployed is working correctly or not. They try to they simulate the ethical hacking, and then see whatever the technique we have deployed is correct or not, is it working well or not, and all of that. And then security engineer. So all these provide information to the security consultant and the SOC analyst. And these are the basic things we need to be knowing as a SOC analyst. All these areas we need to cover when we are approaching as a SOC analyst. Yes. So as I discussed, skill sets required: SIEM, which is security information and event management. No, why SIEM? Because we need to be knowing again the events has to be managed, how, where the log parsing will happen, the malware attacks, and the threat intelligence, and all of these will come under SIEM. So, and why basics? I have mentioned basics of cybersecurity. Why do we need basics of cybersecurity? Because we need to be maintaining the CIA triad: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So if I am a client and you're a SOC analyst, so if this is the thing happening, so what do? I expect my person whom I have given a project to maintain the confidentiality of my data and make sure the data doesn't get tampered, which is integrity. And availability is whenever I need my data, you need to protect my data and my data has to be available. You have to make sure that my data is not available. Something like, suppose it is a lockware attack, then my data is locked. So no more my data is available. So as a basics of cybersecurity, you need to be knowing that, okay, it's my responsibility to make the client available whenever he needs the data. So this is the thing. So there we are going to put encryption techniques, cryptographic techniques. We can use asymmetric, symmetric. The best one could be the hashing, where we can, these all knowledge one must be having. So, and then incident detection, endpoint security, network security. So why network security is because we must be knowing, suppose when we try to check the reputation as a cyber threat intelligence in a SOC, we try to check the reputation of IP addresses. Suppose if we are getting an emails, when we are analyzing emails, we try to, the first thing which we analyze of the emails is the IP address, the SPF record, and all of this. So how these things occur, how it's happening, all this we need to have the networking idea. If you have attended yesterday's session, yesterday sir was asking about uh, if this is the particular IP address, what is the CIDR, what is the subnet mask. As a SOC analyst, we must be knowing all of these things. So when we get into organization, we'll be having the brief idea of where things are happening, in which network there is an attack, which class of IP address it is, and all of that as a brief idea. Yes. Was it clear? Yes, thank you. And then, yeah, so not only it's all about tools, we, again, the technologies which we have, we need to be having the clear understanding of SOAP and SOAR, and the API techniques as well, from where API, how the API calls occur, basic idea of at least a bit of API hacking, CR API. As a SOC analyst, when we are approaching, we must be knowing a basic idea of all of these things: how the get request work, post request work, how the headers work. If you're doing an URL analysis, what are the parameters in URL, all of these things. So now if let me tell you, now basic, suppose touch wood, I don't get a ransomware attack, but still if I get a ransomware attack in my system, if it is a lockware, then what would I be doing? So the first thing which I would be doing is remove the connections. The first step I'll be doing. So there I am trying to detect what, from which endpoint it has come, and then I am trying to remove my connections. Second thing is, if I have deployed an intrusion detection system, so it will give me an alert. And then access control, access management tools. This system, if I'm a single user, I won't be giving access management tools. So it's just that it's me, I am accessing, and the ransomware attack has occurred. If it is an organization, then we will be needing access management tools. Here, as a basic setup, I'll be using probably two-factor authentication or a multi-factor authentication. And then where I'll be analyzing how the user is been behaving, or how the particular file is been behaving. Suppose if it is a virus, it keeps on multiplying with a particular initiation. So if it is a worm, it does not need any initiation or an interaction. It keeps on multiplying by its own self and try to get into my files, the data, and all of that. So these all things I'll be seeing as a SOC analyst. These all the techniques I'll be using. And then what I'll be using, if it's a lockware, I'll go to my safe mode, um, download an antivirus system, and then and a good intrusion prevention system, and then know where, in which path is my ransomware attack occurred, and go to no more ransomware project and check if this ransomware is available in there. Suppose if you have attended my before session, we have something called as Malware Bazaar, where we have all the details of what kind of malware it is and all of that. So we can see the behavior of all them and API calls, how they behave and as a malware and all of that. And then we can check, okay, if this is this kind of malware, is they do they have their decryption key in No More Ransomware project, and then decrypt the data. So that's how, as a basic thing, at least as a basic idea, as a SOC analyst, we must be knowing. Yes. Till now, was it? Can I just get a quick thing that how the session is going on? Thank you. Yes, you can put the question on the chat box. I'll try to answer them. Yes. So again, I just want to be telling that as a security information and event management, SIEM is not just one thing. These are the two different aspects. One is the information which you are trying to manage, and second is the event which you are trying to manage. When we are telling about when information we are going to manage, it's about the software which is collecting the data, the event logs and all of that, and maintaining it. Now where do we find this event logs? We find all of these events logs. Suppose if if you're a Windows user, you see event logs in an event viewer. You get into the security where you find on the left side we have security application. Click on that, get the event IDs, see how it's working and all of that in an event viewer. So as in say SIM, which is security information management, what all techniques come there is that firewall and the antivirus, the defender, and suppose if you have deployed the internal and external firewall with demilitarized zone, all these things will come into picture. And then as an event management, what we are going to do is we have a data set. We try to inherit the tool there to give us the alerts and then respond to them, or and give a particular like how the logs are managed, where logs has to go. All these is the event management. So this, if this event ID belongs to something which is critical, like it is going to divide it into the most as an error, informative, and then warning, and most critical. So that's where security event management comes into picture. It will try to segregate the data, and if it is a good data, then it will get in as an informative data. It will get tagged as an informative data and let us get inside. So this is how the event management will play the role. So SIM and SEM will work hand in hand together like this. So tools to begin when you are a SOC analyst. So I have particularly tried to put this because um, these tools, when you're trying to understand, just do not simply use the tools. When we are trying to use the tools, we need to be understanding how they are deployed, what technique they are using, what kind of rules they are implementing. Not everybody use the same rules, right? Like if we are using IBM QRadar, they have their own set of rules where we can implement on them. And if you are using Windows Defender, there we are going to use different type. Then now in this session, I'll be showing where you can find inbound rules and outbound rules and all of that. And we'll have a demonstration on Cisco Talos, which is a cyber threat intelligence tool. And why Windows registry I've mentioned is because suppose you make a small changes, everything is recorded in the Windows registry. So before we learn that as a SOC analyst, what kind of keys are there, which kind of local keys are there, who is the current user, who is the user of the machine, all of these details we must be knowing. What is the difference between the user and the current user, the local machine? All of these details we must be knowing. As in basic understanding, most of us have Windows. So just start from there. We can scratch from there and then try to learn things and how these things are built up and all that. Splunk and Snort are IDS and IPS systems, where Splunk also has universal forwarder plugin for Snort, where it will work hand in hand together. MX Toolbox is used for email analysis and header analysis, and to know the SPF records, whether the email is spoofed or not, and DKIM and DMARC authentications, which is for the emails. All these are given and analyzed by MX Toolbox. Virus Total, again, the URL scans, the file scans, and all of that. Do not just use Virus Total just to copy paste the URL, copy paste the file, and try to detect. Try to learn how it is being implemented, where it is being implemented, what rules they have given, how this is doing, how this mechanism is working. That's when, as a SOC analyst, not even just you'll be able to use VirusTotal, you'll be able to use the different tools also, like abuse.ch and urlscan.io. All these are the different tools. So you'll be knowing the basic idea how these tools are working, what mechanism is going on when you're copying and pasting, when it is telling it is detecting 0 by 100. What is that 100? What are those points which is telling that? So all of these, what are those what say parameters which they have taken, by which they are trying to see our issue, and all of this is the thing. So that's where these tools you can start. We can begin as a SOC analyst. We can just start this. Yes, industry is hiring a SOC analyst. The first one I would be taking as an IT, and then IT again here as an infrastructure. Suppose we do have something like yesterday's session, we saw a GRC consultant will be having should be knowing the knowledge of PCI DSS. It's not just the DRC consultant should be having the knowledge of PCI DSS. As a SOC analyst also, PCI DSS is Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. It is one particular standard where you're going to check what defaults are there on in your financial. Mostly this is used by the financial organizations. So as a SOC analyst, you'll be checking that if these particular organization is sticking up with proper PCI DSS framework with respect to how the malwares could not be occurred, or how the credit card details could not be stolen, and all of that you can be having the great knowledge on. And then again, as an e-commerce and retail, again the securing of the data so that malware does not occur, and the script, it does not allow the script. As a SOC analyst, as a blue team, if you're specifically in a blue team, what you'll be doing there is you'll be trying to write the rules and the script you try to put into such e-commerce. If you're in e-commerce industry, you'll be deploying the script using C or Python, and then putting up in their applications so that they do not allow any payloads to enter into the system, or suppose the file types like .lock, .crypt. So these are the files extensions of ransomware. So they do not allow such extensions or such payloads like script alert, these kind of XSS payloads. All these, as a SOC analyst, you will be writing the script and deploying inside that, so they do not allow it. And other industries are again banking and finance, and government and defense also. As a SOC analyst, they like, if you have the idea of what SOC analyst, how these things occur, government industries do hire you. And telecommunication, we all know, as a networking, as a network engineer and all of that, people are working. But now again, here it's expanding day by day, and they are trying to get into all the people who have knowledge of SOC. So these people also are eligible to get into telecommunication industries. So these are the hiring industries as a SOC analyst. So this is what I try to bring a session on, how you can begin as a SOC analyst. So if you have any questions, you can come up and let me know. We'll try to resolve it. Any questions?